This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I truly believe that today you're going to get a lot of insight. And I think this pertains to almost all of us at one time or another. Maybe it's quite often. But have you ever felt yourself just kind of drained and you're not really sure why? And sometimes you just need a moment to yourself. Or let's say you're around a lot of people. Let's say you go to a concert or you're just walking in the mall or whatever, and you're like, well, I don't know what it is. I just feel like just drained. Maybe you're highly sensitive. Maybe you're highly sensitive to energy. Now, I know that phrase goes around where people say, yeah, they're very sensitive. I don't mean just emotionally. I mean to the energy around us. We're going to talk about that today. And we're going to start with somebody who does hypnotherapy and also harnesses the power of energy, i.e. energy healing, known as Reiki. And that's Adrianne Smith back on the program. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well, Steve. How are you?
Real good. And this is a topic that I've wondered about in terms of when we feel drained, almost to the point where some of us sometimes even feel like, I think I'm getting sick. I don't know what's going on. But there's more at play potentially here when it comes to the energy. So you've brought in a colleague. Who do we have here?
Yes. Yes. So this is my dear friend and my Reiki teacher, Dr. Reverend Laura Palmer. She is a fabulous lady who I just adore. She's one of my mentors and has become a dear friend and colleague. So Dr. Laura has written a beautiful book that she published just late last year called Celebrating Sensitives. And it's about historical figures who are highly sensitive people. So Laura is, I would say she's definitely more of the expert on the highly sensitive folks than I am. So I'll let her talk a little bit about that.
Welcome, Laura. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Steve. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
So I'm looking to dig deep into this. So let's go basic here and define what we're talking about, because I know it's a little woo, and somebody might hear this and think that, like I feel a little drained sometimes, but I never realized it could be this thing called energy. So can we dig into that?
Certainly.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the highly sensitive person is actually a character trait that Elaine Aron identified, and she literally wrote the book Highly Sensitive Persons back in the late 90s, 98, 96. I always get that confused. But she identified some key characteristics, about 18 of them, that kind of can qualify. As a population, highly sensitive people are about 20 to 25% of the population. We are split evenly between male and female gender identified, as well as we're about 70% of us are introverted. So that's the typical wallflower, all of those quiet people. But 30% of us are extroverted, which is fascinating to me because I am not extroverted. So I'm always curious to see how does that play out. But it does mean basically being sensitive to energies. And in that way, it can present in a myriad of ways. It can be emotionally sensitive. It can be mentally overstimulated. It can be I'm sensitive to electronics, whether either attracted to or repulsed by. It can be sensitive to water, anything, those kinds of things. But typically, a standard baseline is being highly sensitive to sounds and smells.
So I want to really get focused on, are we just talking about, or not just, but does a lot of this start with energy? Because many of us can say that, I'm more sensitive. I think I'm more sensitive to this than that. But overall, is this about energy?
It is actually, it really is. Excuse me, because we are um, we have actually we fit into that neurodivergent category. Because Elaine Aaron did our brains work differently.
Yeah.
Where we really
She read my mind. I was just thinking neurodivergent.
right. Yeah. So and so that is a really good example of where Adrienne picked up on the energy or had the thought, and I picked up on the energy of that thought. So in that way, we can be a lot of us are considered woo-woo because we're psychics or intuitives, but it's also can be portrayed as like really good salesmen. I know an extroverted male sensitive who made his fortune, for lack of a better term, because he was a really good salesman.
Mhm.
Because before he would go in, he would tap into the client's energy and he would kind of feel his way through what they need. Do they need more tone or do they need more paper? And in that way, he seemed miraculous because he'd walk in with exactly what they needed.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That sounds
that's a
exciting.
very tangible way to use it. Another example that I could give is someone who I strongly suspect is a highly sensitive person is Dr. Temple Grandin. And the way that she utilized her abilities as an autistic woman to, kind of really connect with cattle on a level that no one else could, and really intuit what it was that they were feeling and experiencing in order to help them and create systems that treat cattle in a much more humane way, much less stress, and all of these things, right?
Hmm.
And and she's an absolute rock star here in Colorado at CSU, where the Temple Grandin Equine Center is. And so she's really made a name for herself with those intuitive abilities.
Yeah,
Wow.
it doesn't always look like you would think. We're not, well, I am carry a lot of fairy energy and light and kind of woo woo. We don't all look like this. And that's actually what the book is about, celebrating sensitives, because um I found these traits showing up in a myriad of different people, such as Abraham Lincoln. And who else do we have? Eleanor Roosevelt is one of my favorites.
Yes, yes. Who
Um,
else do we have? Just on the cover here, we have Frederick Douglass, we have Martin Luther King Jr., we have Florence Nightingale, we have Nikola Tesla, Ulysses
Ah,
Grant, Eleanor Roosevelt, Princess Diana, Harriet Tubman. I mean, a myriad of different types of people from different historical periods who
hmm.
show the same traits, more or
Yeah,
less.
Tesla. Well, like a lot of these sensitivities, I would imagine aren't confirmed just based on the information that you have, and they have the makeup. But Tesla, I'm right on. I studied him. I'm on board with that one, as did the others. But I know for a fact, like he is just that's how he did his thing. Like he
Mhm.
was so plugged in at the king of manifestation. I mean, it doesn't get any better. I have a book. I still haven't finished reading it, sitting on my nightstand. That about 369. Everything he did was in those numbers. Everything he applied it to. Yeah, hundreds of patents. People stole his ideas, but I can imagine he was just so. And he was an introvert. He
Mhm.
who was his best friend? Pigeons. He used to go out and feed them.
Pigeons, a
Yeah.
sweet little man.
Yeah.
No.
It was. They were like
Yeah.
family to him, and I guess because it was just easier. So how do we know that we may be sensitive? Or should I say overly sensitive? I don't even know. What's the best way to describe?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is there are actually a lot of different terms for it. Some people call it overexcitabilities. Some people call it, oh, I just flew out of my head. But there's a lot of Doreen Virtue calls us earth angels.
Uh-huh.
Gary Zukov calls us the next step in human evolution, which
Hmm.
I like that one.
that
That's
was my
pretty cool.
favorite.
I think that mainstream Western medicine would call us neurodivergent, on the autism spectrum, sensory processing disorder.
The one.
That's the way. See, I knew that was the one.
Yep,
I was
yep, yep.
thinking
Thank you
of.
very much.
See, there we go again.
Okay.
Finally, yeah. The sensory processing disorder is a common
Mhm.
diagnosis for it because we are so highly sensitive to sensory input. So whether it is your, the smells, the sounds, your vestibular input,
Your skin.
your skin, the proprioceptive input. Some people really like to overstimulate certain things, whereas others like to really dial it back and they're like, oh, no, no, that's too much stimulation. And, and we know I'm a mom and I have 5 children and every single one of them is neurodivergent somehow. So
Wow.
2 of my boys are on the autism spectrum. Another one of my boys is dyslexic. My girls, actually, my oldest daughter, we're suspecting is also somewhat dyslexic. And my youngest daughter is the full ADHD with anxiety and all this kind of stuff. So, they're all very highly sensitive children. And no, I can't really say children anymore.
No,
Some of them aren't actually children anymore.
young adults, I guess.
Young adults, young men. Yes, but they all, as children, small children in school, were labeled and they were tried to, be diagnosed and put in a box and expected to behave a certain way by the school system because they had this label that says, oh, you have autism, you have to behave like this. And oh, no, you get a pass on doing all of these things because you're autistic or, whatever it is. And it really turned out to be something that had a detrimental effect for them. And so when I started shifting the perspective and saying, hey, you know what? Yes, you have autism, you have dyslexia, you have ADHD, whatever it is. I said, that's not a problem, except as far as they are concerned at school because you don't fit in their box. And really, what you have is a gift. And you have other ways of seeing things and other ways of doing things that other people don't. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And having that shift in perception was a game changer for my own kids. And I've seen this happen
Mm.
with countless other people as well.
Mhm.
That as soon as you have that perception shift, everything changes, all the doors open, and you're like, yeah,
Right.
like this is a gift, and yes, I can do these things. And I think that's where it becomes possible at that point to really um hone your skills as well as your boundaries and your own personal protection of what is overstimulating, what does drain my battery, what kinds of things can I tolerate, what kinds of things can I not. And at that point, then you get a little more dialed in to be able to utilize your unique gifts in a way that is nourishing to you as opposed to depleting you.
I have to admit, when we first started, I did look at it that way, that it's a challenge. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but even when I share, I was like, wow, it's been a busy, month. I need some time. I feel like like I've absorbed too much of everybody's energy and I just need to do my own thing for a day or two because it's been busy. And I looked at that as, I don't want to say, again, a negative, but something to be aware of. But I'm loving the fact that we flipped the script. And
Yep,
even
yep.
like the ace salesperson, like I find that mildly exciting. Give me more.
Right.
Like what? Can you imagine, you have some sensitive attorneys out there that can, kind of read the whole situation and go where they need to go. Like that, the possibilities are pretty amazing. How can we do that? How can we even identify that we may be sensitive?
I would recommend really having more of that me time, that highly sensitive persons. And I actually consider that to be kind of an umbrella term that all of those other spectrum neurodivergent terms come under. But we all recommend recharging time,
Mm,
me time, that down time. Americans, this as a country, we literally run on cortisol.
And caffeine.
We run on Dunkin', right?
Right.
And we really need that downtime to kind of let all of those go, go, go chemicals kind of move through and out so we can really get into ourselves. and take the time, as Adrienne says, to figure out, what do I like? Why do I like it? And where do I feel comfortable?
Mm.
And then figuring out who you are is a big part of helping you to embrace who you are and accepting. And the more you do that, the easier things get. You don't fight like, oh, I have to have this in my coffee. Oh, I have to have. And I used to get really angry at myself because I was like, I'm being so picky. The blankets have to be this way. The tag on my clothes can't be this way. I have, and it felt just so rah, 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 rah.
Mhm.
But once I said, you know what? That's because I'm sensitive. That's because I have more mirror neurons. It's because my brain filters more. That's because my energy, my auric field is more permeable and I am a sponge. And so I need to wring that sponge out on a regular
Mhm.
basis.
Mhm.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that I have to stop working for 3 years, or stop going to concerts and doing those things. It just means allowing yourself breathing time.
A break, just a
Yeah,
break.
yeah.
So I have somebody I'm connected to who's a nurse, and typically every like third day she has to take off. She's got to make sure that
Mhm.
they're on the schedule. And she's like, ah, I think I'm getting sick again. Oh, I'm really tired. I'm like, don't you realize it? You're an empath. You're picking up on other people's
Yes.
energy and it's draining you down. What is the difference between an empath and somebody who is sensitive? Or is there a difference?
In my opinion, it's a spectrum. And so we've got highly sensitive persons as an umbrella term. And then in that is like your typical sensitives. And then it can kind of slide all the way up to those empaths and those Van Goghs and those Teslas, who we really kind of just don't have those boundaries or aren't aware.
Yeah. So
Mm,
I would say that an empath is a type of highly sensitive person.
Mhm.
okay.
So it falls under that umbrella.
I
So
figured that was going to be the answer. I really did.
yeah.
Because empaths are, and by the way, I took a strength assessment test. I'm on the board of a charity. So they're like, let's do a strength assessment test to use our abilities the best that we can. So I take the test, 34 different strengths. The first one is communication. Okay, no surprise, been doing that since I was a kid. Number two, empath. And I had no idea. I'm the one that called like the nurse. Like I figured that's going to be like top 15, number two for me. So it's like I need to like, hello, I need a break sometimes. There's a reason. But then you
Mhm.
also have FOMO. Like, and I don't want to take a break because I got a fear of missing out on, fun stuff that's coming up and
Right.
just being able to say no. And great word. I think it was Adrianne had said it, boundaries. You got to put up
Yes.
those
It's
boundaries if
huge.
you're that
It's
person,
huge.
right?
Yeah. Or, you can also set yourself a time limit for things, such as, like, oh, I really don't want to miss out. My friends are going to go do this, and we're going to go to this place and do all these things. It's like, okay, well, I can go for 2 hours. And then I'm going to be like,
Okay.
hey, guys, I'm good. And as soon as you start to feel that creeping up on you, where you're like, oh, I'm not really enjoying this anymore, then you can be like, you know what, guys? It's been great. I got to get going, got work in the morning, whatever it is, right? And you can just kind of peace out, go back home, decompress,
Love it.
and then you kind of have a good balance to things,
And let
right?
the
Because,
guilt go
you know,
away. Let the guilt go away. Because so many
right,
times you feel
right. No
guilty.
guilt for that.
Even I would even
Yeah,
do the setup
yeah,
just so you have the emergency shoot when you're going to that event or whatever, and maybe you feel a little depleted. Say,
right,
I may have to leave early. I'm just, if I get a text, I'm just letting you know now. Just want to throw it out there. Yeah, the text is to myself. I need to.
right.
Yeah, I'm always honest. That's the
Yeah,
text.
yeah, yeah. If
So,
that's what works, or like honestly, I'm a big fan of just being authentic
well,
and just
sure.
saying, hey, you know what? I'm feeling a little maxed out right now, and I think I need to go. It's been great. Loved hanging out with you guys. Bye. And you can be authentic with it. And the
Sure.
people who are in your life who love you and appreciate you for who you are, they'll completely resonate with that. They'll get it. They'll be like, okay, got you, man. You're good. Go on. We'll see you later.
Right?
And I
Mm.
think that and that's something that I teach my kids too, is that authenticity, right? Like be honest about what's going on. And it doesn't show any kind of weakness or vulnerability to do that. It's simply being honest with who you are and what your limitations are And, and that's okay. Because I think, going back to what Laura was saying a little bit ago about like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I feel like I'm being so picky because this and that. We've been very much conditioned to think that way, to think that our needs are a problem. And that's not the case. And as soon as we have that perspective shift as well, then we start to realize, no, I can advocate for myself. I can self-advocate. It's okay. Like it's just one of my little quirks that, I
Hmm.
can't be in a place where the music is just like pounding into my head or, maybe on the opposite side of things, like my youngest son, he's on the autism spectrum. My older son who's autistic, he could very easily get overwhelmed by loud noises and things. My younger son seeks out sensory stimulation like that. Matter of fact, he just joined band at school because he wants that extra, like,
Hmm.
he's going to play a brass instrument. Okay, so this is going to be my life pretty soon. So it can go either way, but either way, having your needs met, there's nothing wrong with that. And we've been so conditioned to think that it's too much to ask for our own needs to be respected. And so, kind of like shaking that conditioning and just realizing, okay, look, this is just who I authentically am.
Right.
And it's okay. It's more than okay. It is my own particular gift. And the people who see you, truly see you for who you are, they will respect that. They will appreciate that about you. And they'll
So
appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
when you talk about being particular, this has got to be just right. My hoodie has to be, whatever it may be. How do you
Mhm.
how do you get out of the mode of perfectionism? Because sometimes that can be what we are versus just being sensitive.
Wow, this is hitting them all out.
Ouch. Yeah, you're hitting that one.
Because
I don't think
I'm
there's an easy
sensitive.
answer.
I'm reading the energy here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And my suggestion, and it might be a little bit too woo-woo, but is to understand that your needs count and that in that you are you are divine, and therefore you should treat yourself as divine. And in that divinity, you are perfect.
Mm.
Hmm.
We all could do better. One of my favorite phrases is from Mary Poppins, where she says, "Practically perfect in every way." It's that practically perfect, right?
Yes.
Even Mary Poppins wasn't perfect, but we are all perfect in just our ability to breathe and allowing us, giving ourselves that grace and understanding that I am always doing my best because, in my opinion, I've wrestled with this. I don't think you can do anything other than your best,
Right.
philosophically. But knowing and really feeling that you've always done your best, and in that way, you are always perfect,
Hmm.
and
And
therefore
embrace
you
it.
can release. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Got to tell you, appreciate talking with both of you today. This has been an eye opener, and for many, I think it's going to be refreshing to hear, this and somebody say to themselves, "Well, I'm not a freak. I'm just a little sensitive." And it's not about, being emotionally sensitive. No, it's the energy that you're picking up on. It's almost as if you're a receiver, a radio receiver, and you're next to the transmitter, and it's just very powerful that you're grabbing it. I do want to share this.
Yeah.
Things happen for a reason. That is my belief. And before we get on here, and we were going to talk about sensitivities, and I said it's been a busy like a couple of weeks for me. And this being my birthday, I was just going to chill and take time tonight by myself. I just need a moment. I've been like doing crazy stuff. The reason I even bring that up, reason for being, is I'm also a twin, and my twin is named Laura. I don't think there's any coincidence that you're here today like that.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday, Laura!
Thank you.
Yes.
So
Well,
interesting today. Wow. And answers. I mean, I've been studying this. I do podcasts on it. It answered a lot for me in terms of understanding what's actually, or even validating what's going on here. Um, Adrianne, how do we connect with you? What's the best way?
yeah. So my website is wildhearthealingco.com. And I'm also on Facebook as Wild Heart Healing.
Very cool. This is what you help people with in terms of even clearing energy, because I can't imagine you've got a lot of energy and now it's a little maybe stuck. That's part of what you do through Reiki, hypnotherapy. And Laura, how do we find your book? Fascinating subject.
It is on Amazon. It's also on a lot of or any of the online bookstores.
Uh-huh.
It's available at my publishers at sunburypress.com. But I want go ahead, let it out. Yeah, release it. I wanted to kind of just the second half of the book is all about technique.
Ooh,
From the physical side, mental, emotional, and spiritual work. Well, so we have a lot of different ways for you to kind of find your own ways and embrace your abilities in a healthy, clean way.
very cool.
Good job.
I have just
my
one.
website.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So go ahead. No, sir.
No, what's your website?
It's Sacred Science Energy, but there's only one E between science and energy. So it's Sacred Science and the letter N or G doc.
Gotcha. Final question here. Adrianne, it looked like you were sneezing or coughing, right?
A little bit of a sneezing fit there.
I've always wondered about this. Sometimes when people have a sneezing fit, a coughing fit, whatever it is, if there's no reason for it, like, you don't have congestion or anything like that, is that a way to expel energy?
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So is yawning
And burping and farting
all
and
the
crying.
things. Yep, that's all a different way to expel energy. Popping your ears, popping your fingers, even. All these types of things are ways to expel energy. In my case, I think it's because I'm just getting over a cold, but there's probably a little bit of energy in that throat chakra too.
I'll bet. Well, we're considering what we're talking about, and of course, another way to do that is through Reiki, which you both practice. Thank you so much for being here today. Super cool topic.
Yes. Thank you, Steve, and happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.